G, C and D major. And then what we'll do is we'll have a look at those chords and also some alternative versions as well as a little chord progression to practice changing between those three chords. So here's the G major chord. And what we have here are, I'm using my little finger on the 3rd fret of the top E string here. I'm using my 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the A string here. And I've got my third finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string, the 6th string. So remember, the strings go in this order: 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I've got this chord here. This is the G major chord. An alternative way of playing this G major is by using the 3rd finger on the 1st string at the 3rd fret, 1st finger on the A string at the 2nd fret, and your 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string. Same sound, because all we've done is change the strings. Now, if either of those versions is too difficult for you, then an easier version is using your 3rd finger on the high E string at the 3rd fret, and that's all. And you'll just play the top 4 strings here. Now you can use that, you can also use your 4th finger as well. But again, you're only playing the top 4 strings, like so. And I started off with this version here many years ago. When I started playing back in 1986, I used this one here. I started with this, and it was a good way to get going, because sometimes playing this complete whole chord can be quite difficult, and it can be off-putting, and you know, people get a bit discouraged. So you could try it just like this here. Now the C major chord is using the first 3 fingers, and we're going to put our 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string, which is the 2nd string, like that there. 2nd finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, which is the D. And then our 3rd finger goes on the 3rd fret of the A string, the 5th string, this one right here. And for this one, really you should just try and play the top 5 strings. Try to avoid playing the 6th string because it makes the chord very muddy, a bit dirty, doesn't sound too good. But when you play the top 5 strings, it's great. You can look at changing between just C and the G major chord. So we've got this G major chord. Now the reason why I prefer this one here is because it's easier to go from G to the C. And the reason for that is you've got these 2 fingers here, the 2nd and 3rd fingers on the G chord and also on the C major chord. So when you're switching between those 2 chords, these 2 fingers are not going all over the place. You don't have to take them off and completely change them. So you've got that there on the G, and then just lift them up, take off your 4th finger, and then shift across. Now you're on the 5th string and the 4th string, and these 2 are still in the same position, which I think is absolutely great. And then of course you've got to put your 1st finger down to complete that C major chord. So obviously it will work going from G to C and then from C to G as well. So if you go C to G, just lift off the 1st finger, take these off, the 2nd and 3rd finger, lift them up a little bit, just then move them this way onto the 6th and 5th string, and then of course plant that 4th finger on the high E string. Now let's try switching between those 2 chords, and we'll just play 2 bars of G and then 2 bars of C, and then we'll repeat that a couple of times. And a bar includes 4 beats. Okay, so you've got 4 beats of the bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I would recommend is when you strum, to avoid complicating things even further, because when you're just starting out, there's a lot to learn and it can be a bit overwhelming. So when you're starting out, just keep the strumming nice and simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, you don't need to make it complicated. Don't make life difficult for yourself. So let's have a go. We'll play 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, and we'll keep it nice and slowly. So are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and back to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, back to G again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and G. And we finish on the G to make the chord progression resolve itself and sound like it's finished. Now the C chord also, there is an alternative version that you could use if that's a little tricky. What you can do is, instead of playing this, just take it off so that you're only using the first and second fingers, and like the easy version of G, you're only playing 4 fingers. So you can do that there as well, just 4 fingers. So you're playing second finger on the D string at the 2nd fret, and you're only using the first finger there on the 1st fret of the B string. These are too difficult for you. If the full versions are too difficult for you, the easy versions can get you started. You can at least begin playing. Let's try the D major chord. And for this we're going to need our 1st, 2nd and 3rd finger. We're going to put our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, which is the 3rd string. Put your 2nd finger on the 2nd finger, on the 2nd fret of the top E string, the high E string, the 1st string, the E, the thinnest string, and put your 2nd finger, is that 2nd? No, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, the 2nd string. And for this one, you can play I think you can play all 5 strings for this. Now a lot of guitar manuals, guitar chords will show you just to play the top 4 strings, but I don't think it's wrong to play the 5, because it doesn't make that much of a difference really. I think it does give it a slightly fuller sound. So why don't we practice G, C and D. And so we'll play 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of C, and then 2 bars of G, and then we'll repeat the progression again. And we'll play it slowly. There's no reason to rush, because if you're starting out, you want to take it slowly, slow and steady wins the race and all that. So let's have a go. So 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of D, 2 bars of G, and then we'll repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, C, C, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, D, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. G. Now we're going to repeat. G, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, C, 2, 3, C, 2, 3, 4, and D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, and back to the G. And then you can hold that G, and it helps to resolve the chord progression, making it sound finished. If you're not busy, right, I've got a couple of backing tracks that you could try. There's one called the 12 bar blues in G, and that'll practice all three of those chords, and it'll give you kind of a variation for those chords, so you're not just playing G, C, D, G, C, D. So it gives you a nice progression. It's one of the most classic chord progressions in the world, the 12 bar blues, and I think every beginner guitarist should know it. In fact, I think every guitarist should know it because it's such a cool progression. So if you click the link down below, it'll take you to the 12 bar blues in G. So listen, thanks for joining me today, and happy strumming.